Hey, team, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today I am joined by Ann Cook. She is the safety director for Custom Agri Systems, CAS, up there out of Northwest Ohio. Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm excited to get into where we're going to go today because we're, about 150 or so episodes deep into this podcast, and we've yet to have a safety talk. So I think it's time we have a safety briefing, Ann.
It is overdue.
Let's go. But you get the same opening question that everybody else gets. So what does it mean for you, Ann, to be intentional?
For me, intentional, I relate it to just being purposeful. And so everything I do kind of has a specific purpose or outcome in mind.
Yeah.
And I prefer to stay aligned to those goals and those outcomes. It just makes things simpler for me. So for me, being intentional is just having a very strategic outcome in mind and continuing to align my efforts in that way.
Yeah. Strategic, aligned, and purposeful. That's what I'm writing down for you. I like it. Very good. Well, Ann, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about CAS. What do you guys do? What does this all entail? Being the safety director, take that however far you want to take it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have been with Custom Ag, as we call it, for a little bit over 3 years. Before that, I spent a short stint as a senior safety manager for an Amazon customer fulfillment center in Rossford, Ohio. And that was fun, and we'll maybe dive into that a little bit later on in the interview. But it was short-lived, and that was me being intentional and deciding that wasn't a good long-term fit for me.
Sure.
And prior to my Amazon stint, I had spent 31 years working for a very large agribusiness based out of Northwest Ohio, but truly international, and that was a company called the Andersons.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a variety of safety positions there, but if anyone's doing the math, I started there when I was 16. So
wow, gotcha. Yeah, of course, yes, that makes sense.
But that really that really built me into the safety leader that I wanted to be, but I just kind of run out of runway and wasn't prepared to just coast for the remainder of my career. And when Amazon presented an opportunity, I thought that was a good time to try something new, and then quickly learned that not everything is as great as it seems on paper.
Yeah.
And came back to the ag industry by way of this opportunity at Custom Agri Systems, and I truly could not be happier here. Like I
love it.
I am thriving in this environment because of the intentional efforts I put into looking for the right fit for this last stage of my career. So we can talk more about what I do and what's making me happy. But I am from Northwest Ohio, born and bred, raised on a family farm in Curtis, Ohio, just a couple miles from Lake Erie.
Yeah.
My dad retired from farming 2 years ago at the age of 83. And my parents still live out there and still live on the family farm in the homestead.
Great.
And life is good. I have 3 grown kids, raising grandkids. My husband and I are empty nesters and enjoying this stage of our life.
The golden years, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I love it. We are in the preparatory phase for the phase that you're in right now.
It's good. I highly recommend it.
We still got kids from 9 up to 23, right? So we're kind of entering.
You're in 2 worlds right now. I understand.
We're in both worlds right now, big time. But there's 6 of them, right? So there's just a lot of between the split family, 2, we each had 3, brought 3 of them together, brought them all together, made 6, and a little Brady Bunch experiment going on over here, and it's been fun. Wow, where do we go with that? There's a bunch to unpack there. Here's the first place I want to go. This is the first place I want to go because you brought this up. Intentional efforts leading you to being in a very happy environment. I think a lot of people really crave that. I think a lot of people really, for the most part, like their jobs, don't seem quite as happy as you do. So before we get into the safety director role, why was it such a good match for you to go to Custom Ag?
there's there's an interview story that I love to tell about my first interview here. So it was December of 2021, and we were still in the throes of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And at Amazon, the COVID protocols were very, very strict. No leniency there, so everyone was masking and all the
Yeah.
things. And I had set up my interview with Custom Ag. It was probably early December of that year, and of course, December at Amazon, it's Santa's workshop time. It was pretty busy,
Yeah.
and so I was looking forward to just having an opportunity to get out of the building and take the mask off and enjoy that opportunity. And I came to the interview here at the Napoleon headquarters for Custom Ag, and I was in the waiting room, the foyer, the front entrance where the customers come in. And I was just standing there, I was a little bit early for my appointment, and this guy kept walking through and back and forth between the office area and the parts area. And I recognized him right away. I knew that was Rick Storch, the owner, because I'd done my homework, my research.
Yep.
And so he stopped and he engaged me in a conversation, as to why I was there. And then proceeded to literally take me by the arm and walk me down the hallway and show me all of these historical pictures that are hanging on the wall of the different branches and his history. So he's kind of like giving me this, first person account of how he built the company. I'm thinking, this is pretty fabulous. This guy's really busy, and he's taking, time out of his busy day to introduce me to his company, and I'm just a candidate for a job.
Yeah.
So then I get to the interview, and it was the least interview I've ever been in, and it was more like just a conversation, and it was so relaxed and enjoyable. And I think we talked for maybe 2, even 3 hours maybe on that first interview, and it was the HR director and the general manager, and it was, we laughed and we had fun, and the questions they were asking me were so easy to answer. And I was leaving the interview and going back to the Amazon building, and I had this weird feeling, this visceral feeling coming over me. And I'm like, what is this? Am I getting sick? What is going on? And then it dawned on me, it was homesickness.
Oh.
I actually felt homesick from the interview process. And I'm starting to tear up just thinking about it, because it was just like, that was the moment. I'm like, this is it. Like, they better pick me, because they're going to get me if they want me or not. Because I just knew that was home.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's very cool. That's a great story. That is a great story. I love it when we can make all of those things, like the required job and just like the fit, and it just feels like we've got a kind of a family situation going on, in as much as that's possible in a professional work context. So good. And so it's been 3 years now?
Yeah, it was. I started like January 2nd of 2022, and so I just had my 3-year anniversary, and it feels like, it's weird. It feels like it was yesterday, and it feels like it was 20 years. Like, but it's all been fun. Like, there's been days that are less fun than others, and days that aren't as great. Sure. But I haven't had a bad day here. Like, I just enjoy it. I enjoy the people. I enjoy part of what my intention was with leaving Amazon, was that I recognized that culturally it also wasn't a good fit for me, and it was just a different demographic of the workforce that was kind of very rotational. It was kind of like the McDonald's of workforces, and I'm a relational person. Yeah. So coming here, like, you just get to know everybody, and because it is family owned and family run, you're part of the family. And people are very real. They're extremely hardworking, and one thing to know about me is, if you want me to respect you, or if you want to gain my respect, you got to earn it with hard work. And these guys just work their tails off.
Wow.
every day in the harshest of winter conditions and the heat of the summer. And I tell the millwrights all the time, because I go to their job sites and I do safety audits and safety coaching with them. And I'm like, you got to understand, at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I
Mm-hmm.
think what we do is so cool. I could just sit there and watch them all day, because it's just fun to watch these big erector sets of
Yeah.
grain handling systems getting built with cranes and all these cool tools that I don't know how to use, but they're so natural with it. And
Yep.
I think it's the greatest thing ever.
So good. One more question about the culture there. So what do you think the family has done? So we have a family owned company that's now kind of transitioning to the second generation of family that's running it. You've got, but the same ownership is in place from that started it in 1982. So, right, we're pushing on what this is. That's a 40. Well, I was born in 81, so this is a 43-year-old company,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Um, what are you what like? What have they done to preserve, even I mean, you're talking, this is not like a 15-person company. I'm talking, this is 250 people, which
Yeah,
you're at, that's a natural stage. Anytime we get above 150, it becomes very challenging to maintain the original culture. Right. And so what are you seeing that they've done within CAS to, or Custom Ag, to preserve that, or to build a great culture for folks like you to want to work there?
so it's interesting because I can't tell you that they've done anything intentional, to use
Yeah.
that word again. It is literally just part of the DNA. So I
Mm.
think you pick it up or you gain it through osmosis. And
Mm-hmm.
people very quickly pick up on it. I see it with our new hires, that realize very quickly that this is a long term career choice. It's not just something that you want to do
Yeah.
for a couple of years and try it out, because they see um, the long tenure of their coworkers and how happy they are and how they feel
Mm.
appreciated and respected. And we get profit sharing because the company owners are so generous with their um,
Nice.
bonuses at the end of the year. And I don't think it's anything that you have to be intentional about. It's just so present in everything that we do. It's just something that you adhere to.
Beautiful. One of the things that it makes me think about, we teach a framework called leadership is reflection.
Mhm.
And what we mean by that is that the as the leader, okay, whether you're the owner or the division lead or business unit lead or team lead, it doesn't matter, but you're within, let's say, 36 months of being in that role, and your team is a direct reflection of you. Okay. And I might even say, going in to take over a team, it's a reflection of you because you're new in that situation. But so when we look at our teams, everything that's functioning incredibly well that we love is a direct reflection of our leadership and who we are. And everything that we don't love, that we're frustrated by, that wakes us up at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, also a direct reflection of who we are.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I say lead. Like, so what's frustrating you? Like, so we often try to take the frustrating thing and influence that. Like, we want to make that person change or that behavior change or that process change so that it stops triggering us. The reality is, like, if I go to work on what the part of me that actually created that first, naturally it starts to manifest differently in the environment. Okay.
Right.
It's just one of those leaderships, one of those inside out leadership principles that makes sense. And as you're describing, like, here's a place that just feels like home. Well, I would imagine, like, you've got some owners who have created a homey place because they're the type of people, and I haven't met them, I don't know them, I've never seen them, but as you describe them, I'm just sort of like, it kind of feels homey around there, which has to be, by rule of this framework, has to mean, right, that's who they are. They've created a business that's just a direct reflection of them, and that's how it's all wired.
Yeah. It's a cool environment.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing when you find that perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you a story. Um, about a year into my Amazon tenure, I was there for 18 months. That's when I came to recognize that it wasn't going to be a good fit long term. And I went on vacation with my family, and I remember on the plane, I took my notebook and I made a list of all of the things that I wanted in my next job, and then a list of all the things that I didn't want in my next job. And through the interview process at Custom Ag, and part of that homey recognition was that I was literally able to check off all the boxes of the things that I wanted, and it wasn't going to be any of the things that I didn't want. So again, just validating that visceral feeling that I was having of homesickness. But that really did help me to be very intentional with my next job in my job search. I was not going to settle for anything that didn't tick off all of those boxes.
Beautiful. My wife calls it effective immediately.
Yeah.
This is the title of her keynote, actually. And it's
awesome.
And it's when I get very clear on what I do want and very clear on what I don't want, right? Yeah. Then it's like effective immediately. I accept only this or something better.
Maybe I sometimes I wonder if I manifested it out to the universe somehow, because I was so clear in my objectives, and for that first job opportunity to come along and be a perfect fit is, I got to believe that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to that.
Well, it does say in the good book that if you ask, then you shall receive. Knock and the door will be open to you. So
there you go.
So talk to us a little bit about, what it's like to be a safety director, because we've never had this conversation on the show. I think it's really interesting. I'll share with you just a really quick, this is not a business, accident, but when I was 16, I actually was driving home from bow hunting in a little Mazda B2000 pickup. It was dark out. This was after the evening of hunting. And as I crested over a hill on a gravel road, there was a John Deere 4430 pulling a chopper and a chopper box driving on the wrong side of the road. Tractor lights being pointed down for field work. I never saw the headlights, never slowed down, smashed into it about, 40 miles an hour head on. And was very fortunate. They had actually, the day before, they had removed the rock, like that rock box or the weight box on the front of the tractor had been taken off for whatever reason. Okay. That's where my head was. As I was pinned up underneath, my femur was in two pieces. My tibia and fibula were all crushed, and this sort of spider vein cracks all the way up, or spider, line cracks just all the way up and down. And very, very fortunate to be walking around. It sort of gave me one of those slaps in the face where God's saying, like, hey, I've got purpose for you. Pay attention. But also, it's made me very keen, very aware that farm safety, ag safety in general is really important. Things happen in a heartbeat. This was not something you could have ever predicted, something that you had ever seen coming. And the next thing you know, it's like, you're in the midst of something incredibly dangerous. So safety is very important. I share that story to get people's attention and say, hey, lean in, because we're going to have Ann talk to us about what it's like to be a safety director, why it's important, why you need to pay attention at your next safety meeting. And I think this is one of the most intentional conversations we can probably have right now in the middle of planting season.
Right. No, I think your timing is perfect. So I'll give you a little background on me. I actually didn't start out with a goal of safety in mind as a career. I was going to be an environmentalist. I was going to save the environment. I wanted to do all things water quality and air quality and soil quality, and took an internship at the Andersons, where I was going to be kind of a co-opted between environmental and safety. And just over time developed this lean towards safety. And originally it was safety compliance. And I would go to all of the grain elevators within the Andersons and fertilizer plants and do all these safety audits, and very focused on compliance, which was fine. That's important. But then grew to realize that the enjoyment, it wasn't coming from compliance. It was coming from the people, and developing those relationships with the people, and realizing that it's human behavior that ultimately keeps you safe. compliance is important, and it's kind of like a foundational element of safety, but it's not what actually keeps you safe. That happens between, your ears.
Yeah.
And being able to work with people and relate to them with my farming background. At the time, I was in my 20s, and so this was, 30 years ago, where there wasn't a lot of females in the ag industry, to be honest with you. But I think I had a bit of a leg up from some of my peers, because there's a demographic of farmers that people think can be kind of difficult. They're further along in their lifespan, and they're kind of set in their ways, and people think that they're difficult, and I find them to be the most fun, because they have so much that they've done and experienced and lived through, and they've got some scars and some battle wounds to talk about too. So by me being young and female, I think I had a little bit of an easy entry point into the conversation with them. You might think, or people are tempted to believe that, I would be dismissed because I was young and female. That didn't happen to me. I never felt dismissed at any point in my career, because I listened and I was interested in what they had to say, and I was genuine. And yes, I would tell them that I came from a farm background, which did help me to get my foot in the door with the conversation. But from there, it was so easy to have those relationships with them. And I've always had a soft spot in my heart for farmers. And so when my job gave me the opportunity to, do work with like the 4R nutrient stewardship realm and the water quality, boy, that was a good fit, because it hit my environmental love, as well as my love of farmers and the work that they do and keeping them productive. And then as I kind of grew in my career and got more experienced, I had some really good female mentors at the Andersons, who were very well respected, very had developed really great and very strong careers and really done some amazing things. And they encouraged me to really use my voice and not be, not just, sit in the corner and be quiet. To take what I was learning and take what I was thinking and put it out on the table, and share my opinions and my thoughts when the time was appropriate. And I really took that to heart. I would stand up for things that I thought were important. I would insert my 2 cents where I thought it would be heard. And I drew some lines in the sand when people needed to understand what was right and what was wrong. And I think that served me pretty well. But I go back to this concept of kind of leveraging the fact that I was young and female to develop those relationships and those skill sets of having those difficult conversations or conversation starters with people that might appear difficult and really weren't at all.
Yeah. I mean, you're leveraging the advantage, what many people I think perceive to be as a disadvantage for them, or maybe even have a story in their mind like they're at a disadvantage because their early career, literally male or female early career, often feel disadvantaged in the conversations with customers, with farmers. But then, specifically being female, right? And that, like, there's the common perception, like, this is going to be a disadvantage, but you just threw the book at it. Just threw the book at the story and said, no, like I'm writing my own story. That's fantastic.
And I really apply that here and now with Custom Ag, because I work with millwrights and electricians and fabricators and welders, and there's a perception that they can be kind of a tough and crusty group too. And I find that that's not the case at all. We have fun. They know that I am sincere and that they can trust me. And once you have that established, the rest of it is really easy. So I don't pretend that I'm a millwright. I don't know everything about what they do. And I tell them that, like, hey, I don't know what you're doing. Talk me through it.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can kind of figure out, what are the risks? What are the things that could happen or go wrong? And they like that approach because I'm not coming in with the hammer and treating them like they're the nail.
Yeah, you're not coming in with just a bunch of regulation and saying, hey, you got to do it this way. This is what the book says. You're actually getting kind of, getting your hands dirty a little bit and walking through it with them to understand from their perspective what they're going through on a day to day. So it probably feels much, much more aligned, I would imagine, right?
I mean, the typical conversation starter for me and them is typically like, what are the top 3 things that can go wrong, or what keeps you awake at night with this project, or what issues have you seen that I can help you with? Yeah. And anytime you start a conversation with how can I help you, it's going to get really well received, better than, hey, I don't like what you're doing. I think you need to change it. Mm-hmm. That goes over like a lead balloon.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Good stuff. So talk to me. What's been, the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome, even like just in the last few years? But I mean, what's been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in getting adoption of, whether it's helping people be more safe or new and better ways of doing things, or I'm sure you do have regulations that you have to enforce because OSHA says so. So what's been a big challenge that you've had to overcome? I don't want to go to the big win next, but let's do the challenge first.
I mean, there's a host of changes and challenges within the industry. But honestly, I think the one that I would pinpoint as the toughest challenge is the generational turnover that we're seeing. And this applies to farms too. This isn't just a millwright custom ag thing, where you've got a very, very experienced group of 50 plus year olds who are planning for their retirement or are retiring, and being replaced by a very inexperienced group, but just as hardworking and well intended. Like, I will stand up and fight anybody who downplays or disparages this group of 20 somethings that's coming up. Yeah. I have seen some phenomenal young men and women coming into this industry with great work ethics. They really want to do the right thing, but they're just green. And that's not by any fault of their own. And of course, the ones that are going to be retiring were just as green at one point in their career too. But the challenge is, how do you bridge that experience gap, download all of that knowledge in a way that this next generation can receive effectively and then utilize. And that scares me, because the mistakes that happen and the injuries that happen are truly based on ignorance. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Right. Just they didn't know.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Okay. What's been the biggest, but by the way, I love what you're covering there and saying about the next generation, and that you do see really good work ethic. It's just a matter of training properly and educating and awareness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I always look at, when we're building training programs, I'm always looking at the beginning is, how do we first create awareness and buy-in, right? And then over time that becomes embodied, right? So a good training program, in my opinion, should go from awareness to embodiment. And that's how I look at everything. And when we're in phase 1, we're literally just creating buy-in and creating a bit of awareness. So as an example, I talk about this on the show quite a bit as we go through our Thriving Leader program. Anybody who's been to it knows that we start off with a 6 or 7 a.m. kickboxing workout.
Wow.
Okay. Now, this doesn't make sense. I mean, this is corporate training, business training. This is a professional development event. Why are we doing that? Well, because it creates awareness around the need to focus on health. And if I have healthier versions, I just had a conversation with a guy this morning. He's a regional business director for one of our customers, manages a good number of people in a big book of business, and has a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he'd gotten pretty unhealthy. He's not even 30, and he had gotten unhealthy. And so he came through this. He decided, I got to change my health. And so now he goes to CrossFit every morning as a result of having gone through that awareness activity that we created, for him. And we don't like, he's not getting measured. He's not getting hired or fired by anybody, whether he goes to that CrossFit workout or not. But what we do know is that his employees and his family, his kids, are getting a better version of him every single day. They're getting less leftovers at the end of the day, right? And more of a full plate.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of and this has now become, we're 6 months into this, and it's become a daily part of his life. In the beginning, we just had to create awareness. Now it's becoming who he is, right? And then it will become who his kids are, because kids, you're more experienced in parenting than I do. What I found with parenting is that more is caught than taught.
Right.
And I would imagine the same is true in creating a great safety culture. I know you have to teach it, but it's also when it just becomes the standard. This is the standard of how we operate. Right. And that informs our stewardship of the rules and the regulations and the things, the processes, right, that we do get to create. So I'll step off my soapbox, but I think it's really important. And, to take that all back to how do we engage this younger audience, right? Just really awareness and buy-in, and then enlisting. Right. And then we can go to momentumcompany.com or themomentumcompany.com and read our 5E process. It's on the website. It's free. free training right there. Here's your 5-step how to create buy-in inside your organization type process. But it's important. So I love what you're saying. And I think it's encouraging also the fact that you're willing to go to bat to say these are great workers. Yeah. We just need to take them across the spectrum.
I'm so impressed with what I see out there, and it does give me hope for, my retirement someday, that everything will be in good hands.
Yeah. Okay. What's been your biggest win?
Ever in my entire career?
As far as you want to go.
I'll give you a fairly recent one.
Okay.
Well, there's some small wins. I'll call those base hits instead of winning the game. But whenever I get a text message or someone popping their head in my office to share something that they had done at a work site that they knew was safe and was right, that's a win, right? So I'll get pictures from the guys, and it's a win on so many fronts. The win because I know they're doing it right, but more than that, it's a win because they trust me enough to send me that information, or they know they've got that rapport established with me. This is kind of silly, but it's the guys and girls all know that I'm a huge proponent of orange safety cones, like the kind you see on the roadside, and that they're a huge safety tool, especially on the type of jobs that we do, where we've got a lot of pedestrians and traffic and customers and what have you, and it's just an indicator that something's going on and I should be aware of what I'm walking through or walking into. And so they'll send me pictures of orange cones, and they know that I'm just going to nerd out the minute they do that. But that makes me feel great because they appreciate that it's something that makes me happy and that I like seeing those. I know that they're doing it right and making a good effort. So those are the little wins. And then a big win, and it's a recent one, is we have been trying to transition into software and phone apps that can do job site safety inspections and equipment inspections and all things safety available, on your phone. And, it's not something that happens quickly. There's the traditional 80-20 adoption ratio. And the 20% are going to be the holdouts, and eventually I'll get them on board too. But it's been really fun to see that kind of technology advance through the company that was pretty comfortable with their paper. And there was nothing wrong with the paper, and I tell them that, it was absolutely compliant and appropriate, but it didn't give me the line of sight that I was looking for from a centralized perspective. And it didn't give you as much ability to capture things like photographs to go with the inspections or provide feedback on the inspections. And so seeing that concept advancing through the company and people really owning it and driving it. That's that's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I mean, getting people to adopt technology at that level, and I mean, you're talking 250 people across five main retail locations, or not
Five,
retail, but five
eight,
main, eight,
12 branches.
12 branches. So that's a lot. That's a lot of buy-in to generate.
It's not been a quick process, but
No.
we started it about 18 months ago, and it's really developed some good momentum. I'm happy with it.
I know a good number of our clients that are implementing new ERP systems and all kinds of different technologies right now. What worked for you to get the buy-in and get people using it?
Well, what gets measured gets done. I've always been a believer of that. And while I'm not one of those, safety professionals that's completely based on metrics alone, let's face it, metrics are important to kind of show progress. So when you start reporting progress across peer groups and branches, and people can kind of see how they rank compared to their peers, it does have a pretty quick effect at getting people to get on board, because they don't want to be, the low performer. So I found that was really effective. And then, of course, finding the software that was a good intentional fit, that was simple, easy to use, didn't have a lot of clicks or steps involved in it. That was one of my main goals, and I think we found a good one.
Great. That's good. I love it. Okay. What books, podcasts, what do you read? What do you take in? Audiobooks, what's your flavor?
Yeah. So I would say back in my 30s, I went through a huge self-awareness, professional development phase, both through the Andersons and work that they were doing with me, and then on my own. And then I would say in the last couple of years, I've really just shied away from books. I find that when I leave work at the end of the day, I need to leave work at the end of the day. So I go home, and now I'm really kind of focused on the health and fitness journey that you alluded to.
Yeah.
So I listen to a lot of health and wellness podcasts.
Got it.
I've been doing a lot of work on my own health and wellness journey.
Good.
And then I like to spend my evenings when I get home from work, either throwing some punches at the heavy bag or throwing some dumbbells around my barn.
Come on.
And I really feel like that helps me to let off some steam and really focus on myself. So I'm kind of in a self-focused journey on fitness right now.
Good for you. I love it. You and me both. That is the I look forward to the end of I've been switching my main workout. I get up and I go for a long walk with my dogs in the morning, but my wife and I will sometimes go together. We do a prayer walk around the neighborhood on the days when we're home. And then I travel a bunch too, so that's not always the same routine. But on the days when I'm home, that's kind of the morning routine. And then I'll get into my calls and kind of most important things before 11 o'clock, and then podcast interviews in the afternoons, which are also important, but they're not task heavy. Right. So I can sit here and have a conversation. That's very easy for my brain to do. But if I had to sit down now and write a proposal, that's very heavy for my brain to do this time of day. So it's about energy management more than time management for me.
I like that. I'm going to use that energy management.
Yeah. Just managing our energy throughout the day. So if I can get out and get everything crossed off and most of the things done by about 4:30 in the afternoon and go lift something heavy, I then get almost like a second boost where for that last 6 hours of the day, I feel much more present. I'm much more alive. I can even make a couple of calls if I need to from a work perspective. I'm on the East Coast and we cover the whole country. So in fact, our team manager, Ani, lives in California. So when we're done, she's midday.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. The time difference.
So she's still maybe hammering some things out and needs some feedback on stuff. I'm much more present and aware when I, like you're talking, get that good workout and those kind of things at the end of the day. So that's good.
I'm lucky. My kids are grown. I have the ability to focus on myself now, whereas 10 years ago I was still taking care of them, and it's just a different stage of life that that offers you that opportunity. But my husband likes to tease me that, he thinks I'm trying to live forever. I'm like, no, I want to live healthy. I don't want to be
Yeah.
sick in the
Yeah.
last stages of my life.
100%. As we sit here, my mom is just sitting in the hospital recovering from knee replacement surgery this morning. She's 81. And that's a normal, not an abnormal thing, but she's been hurting for a long time, and I've never met a man with my last name older than the age of 75. And I fully intend, God willing, to be the first one that I know of.
Yeah.
I've got some cousins and things that are older than me, so hopefully they get there too. But that is the mission, right? To live well beyond those years, but do so with vitality.
Right.
And that's something we don't talk enough about that in agribusiness and agriculture is vitality. We're very proud, hardworking, grind it out, get the job done. And I think obviously there's a time and a place, and that's important. Many people are doing that at the cost of their health, unfortunately. Yeah. And that's something that we stand for at the Momentum Companies. We need to change that.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. And this has been a fantastic interview. Been a lot of fun talking. We could go longer, but I want to respect others' time in listening to this and respect your time in the middle of the day here. So thank you for being on the show. Where should we go to find out more about Custom Ag?
So our website is www.casindustries.com.
Okay.
And then we've got a pretty solid social media presence with the help of a third-party consultant. So we're on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn.
Beautiful.
And I'm one of the content creators in terms of the photos that you see out there. I submit them, and then they kind of, polish them up and make them sound really cool.
Neat.
But most of those pictures that you'll see have come from either job site audits that I've done or site visits that I've done. But it's really cool to share the work that we do with the rest of the world and kind of show off a little bit and brag about the work that we do because I love it.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, guys, check them out. Ann Cook, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Mark.